Um, so you interviewed Muhammad Ali, correct?
I did, and it was in 1965. I'm working for the Cleveland Call and Post newspaper. I'm interning there, 20 years old, and they told me, ironically, Muhammad Ali, or Cassius Clay as he was named, just before, as he was changing his name, was in the process of changing his name. He was at Channel 3 on the Mike Douglas show, which was a live show, and I showed up at Channel 3 to interview him in the studio. I wasn't on television, but after the show was over, that's when I interviewed him and took that photograph there that you have in that art and did the article on him for the Call and Post.
How would you describe him, like when you met him?
He wasn't boisterous or anything like that. He was kind of soft spoken. With me, I mean, I interviewed him. I think there might have been one other person interviewing him from a newspaper, but he was kind of soft-spoken at the time, and he didn't say, anything wild or anything like that about the military or anything like that. I did find out later after he left that he wanted his money from the Mike Douglas show. He would not take a check. He wanted to be paid cash because he'd got supposedly had been stiffed a lot of times about getting his money. So he wanted them to pay whatever the going rate was for appearing on the Mike Douglas show. He wanted that cash, several $100s, and I think they found it. Or I think it may be in the article that, and I haven't read the article lately, but see, I think I wrote that he wanted $500. They didn't have $500, and I think he said, "I'll take $300 then, whatever you got." But he was nice. He was nice.
So you served in Vietnam. When did you go over?
I went over in September of 1967 and came home September of 1968.
Um, what was your view on people that were draft dodging like Ali, being somebody that did go over?
Well, wasn't a whole lot of that going on when I got drafted in '66. It kind of began because I spent the first year in this country before I went to Vietnam. But there was some, but we talked about it a lot. I mean, some people said they were going to run off to Canada while I was in the service. You'd hear newspaper reports or television reports about it. I really didn't think much about the idea. My race has a lot to do with this because I'm fighting like crazy at that time to be an American. Now, that may sound strange to you, but I never fully felt that I was fully 100% American, as viewed by America, because if I was an American, then I can go anywhere I want, get a hotel anywhere I want to get a hotel room, I can vote in whatever community I live in. My grandparents were not allowed to vote until 1965, but by then they had passed on. And so I'm fighting to be an American, and the last thing I want to do is leave the country and run off to Canada.
Um, so you took a test like the mental aptitude test. What was that like, or like what was it? How would you describe it?
I guess it was just kind of a general knowledge test. They wanted to see what you knew about this, and what I don't remember the questions, but it had to do with mathematics on there, English on there, other general knowledge stuff. They wanted to see what you know. So if you have an aptitude for this or an aptitude for that, the Army can train you to do certain things. So I think that as I recall, that's what the test was about. And I do remember that just this is before I was drafted. I'm taking this test like a month before you get the official word you're being drafted, because I know I'm going to be drafted because I'm taking these tests and I'm taking a physical examination, and it's like night following day. You know you're going to be drafted in the next month or so. But I do remember that we had to put our names at the top of this paper, and you had to put last name first. And I had one guy ask me, "Why do they want our last names first?" And I said, "Well, they want to alphabetize us." And what I learned is there are all kinds of men who are being called, all kinds of men. And they're all around me. Some were high school, some had dropped out of high school. some were college, and we were all in one area, and so you learn to get along with everybody, and that's one of the things I talked about with this guy that I reconnected with when the day we were drafted. He and some of the other guys were drafted together, and they asked me, we've just met downtown, hundreds of men being drafted that day, and I'm with this group, and one of the guys said, you're a college man, aren't you? And I said, yeah. I said, why does it show? He says, yeah, you know how to make with the words. And he said, plus you're wearing those penny loafers that a college boy wear. Those shoes that you're wearing. I had college boy shoes on. So you're with all kinds of people. You learn to get along with everybody.